Hi there, I'm Tracy from Plumescence Therapies and Training, and this is the first in a series of blogs and linked videos to give you an idea of mental health awareness and mental health problems. I hope that these videos and blogs will help you to think about mental health and to encourage discussion amongst your friends, your family, and the people you know in general, people at work even. The videos and blogs will cover an awareness of mental health in general, stress, anxiety, phobias, depression, postnatal depression, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, dementia, eating disorders, ADHD, obsessive compulsive disorder, and post-traumatic stress disorder. All of the subjects I've just stated are all based on my own personal research, my personal thoughts, and in some cases, my personal experiences. And I've used all of this subject matter in order to gain my mental health qualifications. I've also been asked if I will look at the differences between bullying and banter, and to discuss dependency on drugs and alcohol. If you've got any subjects that you would like me to cover in the future, then please let me know and I'll see what I can do. If you've got any questions about any of these subjects, then please, again, just ask and I will try and help as best I can. And of course, I will try and look at therapies and treatments that can help with these disorders. I can assure you though, if you ask me something that is way out of my scope of experience, I will try and signpost you on to someone who can help you to give you better ideas and help make better informed decisions about what you can do to cope and to get these therapies and treatments that are helpful for you. I do hope that you will find the information I'm going to provide in these series of videos and blogs interesting and informative. So let's start by talking about mental health. And what do we mean by mental health? Mental health describes the emotional well-being and emotional resilience of how someone is feeling and able to cope with everyday life and stresses, whether that's in a positive or a negative way. But as you know, when we talk about mental health or think about mental health, we normally discuss it in a negative way and we talk about poor mental health or mental ill health. So what is meant by mental ill health? So mental ill health is considered to have a lower level of being able to cope emotionally with everyday stresses, having low confidence and reducing levels of self-esteem. If you are mentally unwell, you tend to have low moods and these can fluctuate from day to day. Mental health can include suffering, or poor mental health rather, can include suffering from such things as anxiety, low moods, depression and stress. And as I said, we will discuss all of those subjects further within this series. To be considered as having mental ill health, the negative changes you experience obviously affect you, but they may well affect people and others that are around you. Mental ill health can also be referred to as a mental disorder. So what are considered to be the components of a mental well-being or good mental well-being? So in my thoughts, the things to consider are resilience, self-worth, personal perspective, the view of your concerns and your problems, the flexibility of being able to cope, the coping strategies, and having the ability to develop and foster positive and supportive relationships. So let's go through some of those in just a little bit more detail. Resilience. This is about you being able to persevere, live through, and bounce back to your normal, whatever it is for you, after and while suffering stressful, difficult and traumatic experiences and events that are going on in your life. Self-worth It's about the thoughts you have about yourself and being able to define yourself as a person and being able to separate the problems around you. I believe it's about learning and understanding your strengths and your weaknesses and being able to use those to your advantage in coping well mentally. Having a healthy view of your problems are a healthier sign of healthier well-being. It's about being able to analyse your problems and to manage them and to not over-exaggerate them to the point where they become the definition of who you are and of your life. It's in this case that flexibility becomes key, and it's about being able to manage your own thoughts, emotions, and behaviours in a more healthy and balanced way. We tend to do this with our coping strategies, and we can discuss later in the series about healthy and unhealthy coping strategies. But ultimately, what are they? They're the ways you use to cope with everyday life, stresses and problems, and our coping strategies are there for both our physical and our mental well-being. Relationships. Developing and fostering positive and supportive relationships are important to everyone's well-being, especially your mental well-being. It's often stated that we become the people or the person with whom we surround ourselves most. And so having positive and supportive relationships can help us see different ways of living and perhaps try to establish some of those ways into our own lives to help us live more positively. Supportive relationships are so important to help people through those low and tough times. There's quite a few risk factors that are there to that enforce developing mental health problems, and there are so many to consider, and there is so much written about all of these subjects. But some of the main risk factors are known to be isolation, increased anxiety, low moods, which can lead to depression, reducing self-worth and reducing self-esteem. All of these can happen very quickly, but they can also happen over a period of time. And it really does depend on the situations that people are experiencing at that time. Anxiety can set in as people start to worry about the future and the possible outcomes, usually in a negative way. Anxiety, though, can lead to further isolation and further uncertainty about the future. And this is how easy it is to get into this spiral of negative thought patterns and reduced positive mental well-being. Depression as well can take many forms, and as I've said, I will expand on some of those throughout this series. Again, there is so much written on this subject. You could buy so many books, you could read so much about depression. Depression, though, can last for short periods of time or can be lasting for long periods of time. And again, depression could cause someone to further isolate themselves, especially if their self-esteem and their confidence and their self-worth is reducing at the same time. With all of this in mind, it stops people seeking help. It stops people seeking support and friendship that everyone really does deserve and is entitled to. As I've said, depression can take many forms, but there's still a stigma attached to mental health problems, and this still stops people from seeking help. That's what my mission now is about, to do these podcasts, to do these videos, to do these blogs, to get people talking about mental health. Plum Essence Therapies and Training not only offer services for these things, but we do the mental health awareness training and the mental health first aid training. You can do this as an individual or take it into the workplace so we can really see more of an impact within the workplace. That's me, Tracy from Plum Essence Therapies and Training, delivering some information about mental health awareness and mental health problems. Thank you.